So like I said yesterday, today we're going to really talk about Whitebeard and, his decision, right? Is Whitebeard wrong? Was Whitebeard right? Does this flow with Whitebeard's, character? And those are like literally the two questions that we need to break down, Did he make the right decision? And two, is this in line with Whitebeard's character up until this point and everything we know about him? Now, I think that there's two ways you could look at this. One is that, Oda has slipped up here. And two, maybe we don't understand Whitebeard enough. And I generally tend to side with the side that we don't understand Whitebeard enough, because I guess that's generally what we do with people in real life, right? If people make a decision that seems inconsistent with their behavior, then we tend to just say we don't understand them enough and what they were thinking, instead of jumping to the fact that, this is a slip up on their half, right? So looking at, the Wano situation, Oden and Whitebeard's relationship, where Oden was even referred to as Whitebeard's brother, not even son. Whitebeard called him his brother. So looking at that relationship and then understanding, what happened in Wano and seeing that Whitebeard did nothing, it's a bit confusing, right? And on some level, you'd be like, well, Whitebeard's a Yonko. He should have done something. He has all this power. But at the end of the day, Whitebeard is just a man. Right? And there's only so much you can do as a man. Now, before we go in and look at all the possibilities and compare it to other situations like with Ace, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Like, why not, right? You're interested in the video, you like what I'm saying, you like where this is going, so subscribe. And I'll also put spoilers down for people who are not up to date. But like I was saying, they had this relationship, and Whitebeard in the end said he's not going because of the casualties that would be involved. Do the casualties really matter? On some level, you could say yes. I mean, on a basic level, if you are making a decision, yes, casualties matter. Like, you don't really want people to die unless maybe it's like Kaido or something like that. But apart from that, you wouldn't really want other people, involved. You wouldn't really want your own crew suffering. You'd only really want the enemies. And Whitebeard knew that, okay, if we do this, not only will Oden's people die, but I will also have my other sons die. And we're doing this for someone who's already dead. What are we achieving from this, right? Now, people talk about Oden's family and that, but, by the time they got the news, Oden's family was also reported to be dead. So who are you really going to save except for Oden, except for the other people in Wano, who you don't really know. You don't really know those people, right? So unless you're doing this to avenge him, there's nothing saving him here. And then, would he do this to avenge? I don't think so, because of the the old generation, their style of thinking, or just pirates in general and their style of thinking, that when you're a pirate, right, things are not fair. And at the end of the day, whether you choose to become a pirate or not is your decision, knowing that things as a pirate is not fair, right? Luffy says this in the beginning, where he's like, if I die, I die, right? In his fight against Katakuri, pirate fights are not fair. Like, it's been mentioned many times that things are not fair as a pirate. So, if you decide to become a pirate despite that, then you are taking on, this whole risk of things ending up being unfair for you in the end. Maybe you lose, maybe you die in an unfair way. You're taking that on. And Whitebeard respected Oden's decision to take on Kaido and do all these things. So if he lost, that is his decision. And everyone, including Whitebeard and Roger, the Roger Pirates, they respected that of him, right? So coming to Wano is kind of like saying, yeah, we respected your decision, but this is what I want to do, right? And as someone who's recognized as Whitebeard's brother, more of his equal than his sons, I feel like that's a different level of kind of putting your authority above him. Because if he's your son, then you can be like, there's always the kind of convenience that, okay, I need to protect my sons. But as his brother, it's kind of like, you should trust him more than that. You should back his decisions a bit more than that, right? And then we get into the part of, is this in line with Whitebeard's character, right? Because now we look at Ace and what happened with Ace and how everyone went to war. He called up other pirate crews to go to war with him and all that. And it seems that the decision there was a bit different, as to whether to go or not. And from that, it's kind of like, oh, well, I guess he's choosing who he wants to, or is this a bit unfair, or what was different here? I think that one is that Ace was alive, although people pick up that Garb said that, if Even if Ace was dead, he'd still come. But first, let's go with the fact that Ace was alive. It's different saving your son, who you want to protect more, than, avenging your dead brother. It's a bit of a different situation. Two, there's a lot of hints and signs throughout the story that Whitebeard really favored Ace because, he saw something in Ace. I mean, also knowing who he was, there was a bit of favoritism going on there. And it's not really like it's a bit of an unfair thing because at the end of the day, it's not like any of the Whitebeard pirates didn't want to do it as well. A lot of the allies really wanted to do it. We saw the relationship between Oars Jr. and Ace. So the characters there really did want to do it as well. It didn't seem like they would be fine not saving Ace at the same time. And then not only do you have that, you have to also consider the, implications of letting Ace die. Because earlier, I think after Alabaster, Ace met Buggy, right? Not met, shall I say. He kind of met Buggy, but he also jumped on Buggy's ship. They're like, yo, let's kill him. He's Ace, he's a commander on Yonko's crew. We can become famous for it. And Buggy's like, no, don't do that. Right? You don't want to mess with Whitebeard. We heard the legend about Whitebeard. If you touch a single hair on his head, all hell will break loose and you will cease to exist, right? That was kind of what he said. I'm paraphrasing. And that tells you something. That for a lot of crews in the world, organizations, factions, whatever you want to call them, you don't mess with the Whitebeard pirates. There is a reputation around that. It literally protects a lot of Whitebeard pirates, right? Except for maybe against other Yonkos and the world government / the Navy. But against all other groups in the world, the legend and the reputation of the Whitebeard pirates protects them. Now, for someone like Ace, he didn't need much protection there, but consider all the other over 1,000 members in Whitebeard's crew who are not as strong as Ace, who meet people who are much stronger than them, other pirate captains. That literally, Whitebeard's name literally protects them. And allowing the world government and the Navy to do what they would have done to Ace without going there would have tarnished that reputation a lot, right? Think about the repercussions of that down the line. Now people are saying that, okay, you know what? It doesn't really matter if you're Whitebeard's crew. Like, he's not going to do anything if we kill them. Right? So there also are other repercussions apart from just focusing on Ace. The thing that happened with Kaido and Odin was a very secretive matter. Like, not many people even know Odin was on Whitebeard's crew, apart from people who were there back then. So the implications of killing Odin were not, as bad. And, the kind of secondary effects were not as bad as the one with Ace. And they wouldn't have affected the crew as much as the ones with Ace. Right? And it's not just with Ace. We also have the thing with Thatch, where he's like, don't go after him. Right? It's like, it's not worth it. Now, before I go into that story, as far as why Whitebeard would have, the whole thing about Whitebeard still going even if Ace died, I think that is not necessarily reality versus expectations, but more something that happens with age. We've seen that a lot of characters talk about how age has affected them, and I think the same is true. Right? Think about Whitebeard when he was young. A man who's always looking for a family. More of a reckless guy. But now, as a Yonko, as an established pirate, he lives a comfortable life with his sons on his ship, essentially, which he wants to protect. This is what he's been fighting for. So you could say he's grown more senile over the years, right? And so he's less of a person who's just going to jump into a fight. He's become more of a leader, a caring leader, if you will. Someone who cares about his crew, cares about saving as many members of his crew as possible, which is why he would rather die in Marineford than let his sons continue to fight and kind of all retreat at once. He would let himself stay and die while the rest of them retreat to save as many as possible. And thinking of that, I think that's also what, would have been kind of a disappointment, which I think, would have happened if Ace died. Whitebeard may not. I think there's a chance that he probably would not have gone to Marineford if Ace was already dead when they caught him. Right? Because what are you going to do? What's your achievement there? From Whitebeard's perspective and protecting his family. There's no achievement in going to Marineford. Nothing to be achieved there. Now, coming back to Thatch, I think the issue with Thatch is slightly different as well, because there, I think it lends to Whitebeard's experience and him knowing what base he was on. Because I think Whitebeard has, through his years of being on the sea, meeting different people, he knows generally what's supposed to happen And when that doesn't happen, he knows when something's up, right? He knew something was up with Blackbeard. He told Ace not to go for Blackbeard. Ace is like, nah, last time you stopped me from going for, like, after Kaido. This time I'm going. Blackbeard was under me. This whole thing is my fault as the leader. I'm going. But Whitebeard knew something was wrong, right? Now, is it Whitebeard's fault for not communicating that properly to, the rest of his crew? Probably. But he knew something was off. I think the same thing here is similar with Oden and Kaido. He knew something was off about this. Because he knew that a man that Oden Kozuki couldn't beat, you want to go after him? And as we saw in the flashback, in a one-on-one, in a proper fight, Oden probably would have won that. High likelihood, very unlikely Oden would have lost. In a proper fight. And I'm sure Kaido knew that something happened in that fight which was not right. So a man who already was supposed to win lost. What about you who doesn't even have a high chance of winning at all? Like, your chances are basically you're going to lose. How are you going to do in that fight? So don't do it. He knew something was up. Like, of course, it was more basic trickery, but he knew something was up. So it's like, even more so, let's not dabble into this because we don't know what happened here. Something went terribly wrong. Oden was not supposed to lose that. He knew that. But, was that communicated right? Once again, it's Whitebeard in the way he communicates. So maybe it was not the best of ways he could have said it. But that's the way he chose to handle it. Now, at the end of the day, does this all line up with Whitebeard's character? I think it does. I think that, Whitebeard is more interested in, protecting his family, protecting as many of them as possible. And that's something that he's also gained over the years because over the years, he's gained more of a crew, more people he has to care for, and more responsibilities as a leader. Back when he was on his ones, like when he was alone before he gained a pirate crew, his reactions probably would have been different. He probably would have been more violent. He probably would have been as scary as the people say. But over time, he's changed. He's a different person. And his decisions are impacted by his crew, are impacted by the people he has to take care of. And so going to Wano would have meant risking, his crew of how many thousands to also risk the lives of how many more thousands in Wano to kill Kaido for the sake of someone and who's dead, which would not really help once again, because all that would do would be to kill Kaido, yes, maybe, probably yes, put Wano in a very terrible state, open it up to the world government, which is just more issues, which I don't think Whitebeard wants to get involved in. We've heard Whitebeard doesn't want to get involved with throne wars and all that kind of stuff. No. So at the end of the day, it's just not worth it for Whitebeard. And I think that lines up with everything that's been going on, where people in One Piece, as they get older, their priorities change slightly. Their strength changes. Their values, their patience, it changes them. And for me, that's what I think, really impacted Whitebeard in his decision not to save Oden, how it makes sense. Now, if you think that it still doesn't make sense and that Whitebeard should have made a different decision, feel free to say so down in the comment section below. But please also just explain why you think your ways of thinking is correct and where I went wrong. Because if you just say a line like, I disagree, that really doesn't mean anything to me. Like, what am I supposed to do with that line? But anyway, guys, as always, like the video if you liked, subscribe for more. If you know someone who needs to hear the truth, explain why Whitebeard didn't go, explain how Whitebeard's character still makes sense, and how his decision was still, probably correct, even though it may not be the decision you would have made. Share this video with them. As always, if you have time, please watch one of my videos. If you do not, thank you for watching this video all the way to the end, guys. This is King KZ, and I'll see you in the next one.